Hello and welcome to Time of Death. I'm your host Dee.
And I'm your other host, Ris.
We have a lot of energy, so we don't have to retake that this time.
Not today.
Not today.
Maybe next week, but not today.
Ris, do you want to do your spiel?
Yes, if you're new here, welcome. We are two nurses that like talking true crime. We like focusing on cases that have a heavy medical influence to them, or cases that feature a medical professional as a perpetrator or victim.
Well said. Just a heads up, this week's episode does contain some disturbing content related to attempted murder and domestic violence. So if you're not in the right headspace for this, we'll see you next week. Just a disclaimer, none of this is definitive. These are all opinions based off of facts that are available to us. Everything is alleged, and it's an ongoing investigation and case, so just keep this in mind during this episode, please. Tonight we will be diving into a case that has swept across the nation, and it even reached me, standing in line at my local supermarket, waiting to pay for my groceries, where plastered across a magazine, I see Doctor in Maui tries to kill wife, or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording. I said, son of a gun.
Now that's an eye catcher.
That's a eye catcher. This doctor's name, Dr. Gerhardt Konig. He was known for his career as a respected anesthesiologist on Maui, which is part of Hawaii. His life took a shocking turn after he was accused of trying to murder his wife, Arielle Konig, during a hike on Hawaii's Pali Puka Trail. The story has all the ingredients of a high-stakes thriller, an idyllic marriage, serene hiking trail, and a sudden and brutal act of violence, and a quest for justice. Beneath the surface lies a complex web of psychological manipulation, unanswered questions, and devastating consequences. So, in this episode, we'll dive into the dark side of what seemed to be the perfect life and examine how the actions of one man altered the lives of those around him. Gerhardt and Arielle Konig appear to have it all. Love, success, stability. Gerhardt, again, an anesthesiologist, was highly regarded in the medical community, known for his meticulousness and calm demeanor, not unlike myself. In the operating room, he was a professional who seemed to have mastered the art of precision.
Much like yourself.
Much like myself. He was a professional who seemed to have mastered the art of anesthesia. Like myself. In fact, his colleagues would describe him as the kind of doctor who remained unfazed even in the most stressful of situations. Not unlike myself. His wife Arielle was equally impressive in her own right. A passionate, fierce advocate for mental health, Arielle worked tirelessly within the community to help others navigate the complex challenges of mental illness, which I really resounded with. She was a beacon of empathy and a role model to so many. Together, they built a beautiful life on the island of Maui, seemingly untouched by the difficulties that many face during marriage.
This sounds like the perfect life. Perfect marriage, perfect life.
Keep reading, keep listening. But were things really as perfect as they seemed? Sometimes.
Probably not.
Sometimes outward appearances are deceiving. Relationships, especially when one or both of the partners have very demanding careers, much like the Konigs, the marriage can appear flawless to the outside world. However, like a pressure pot, there are often pressures. I don't think that makes sense.
Pressure cooker?
Pressure cooker. But like a pressure cooker, there are forces beneath the surface: emotional strain, communication breakdown, unaddressed issues, resentment. It's not uncommon for seemingly perfect marriages to hide deep, dark dynamics.
You don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Well said. Theatric.
I hope the mic picked that up.
As we begin to peel back the layers of this story like an onion, we'll find that there's so much more to the Konig's relationship than meets the eye. So let's fast forward to the pivotal day. Not perfect. This was a bad day. What should have been an ordinary hike? It was early in the morning when Gerhardt and Arielle decided to hike the Puka Trail. The Puka Trail is a path known for its stunning views and steep terrain. The trail is located on the island of Oahu, and it's both beautiful and treacherous, offering hikers a breathtaking glimpse of the Pacific Ocean. It's a 0.7-mile route, offering a challenging climb that's perfect for adrenaline seekers. With an elevation gain of 500 feet, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's the kind of place where one wrong step can send someone tumbling down steep drop-offs. It's called foreshadowing. The trail ends at a natural rock arch known as the Puka, a popular spot for hikers to take cute photos, but for Gerhardt and Arielle, the hike that day would be far from scenic. Things took a dark turn once the couple got pretty deep into the hike. Arielle recalled that Gerhardt had been acting really strangely, very aloof. Arielle declined to take a selfie near the edge of the cliff at Gerhardt's request, and the simple request from her husband that she refused set everything off into motion. Gerhardt, according to the court documents, was enraged when Arielle refused him. His temper flared, and he shouted at her to return to the edge of the cliff. Arielle, however, said, "F you, dude." Well, she didn't really say "F you, dude," but she just walked off, unwilling to even humor him. Thank goodness. That's when things took a terrifying turn. Gerhardt allegedly pushed Arielle into the bushes, which was very forceful and very violent, and sent her tumbling. The argument escalated as Gerhardt picked up a large rock and struck Arielle in the head several times. The impact left her dazed. The impact left her dazed, her body battered by both the assault and the dangerous terrain. In a final desperate attempt, Gerhardt reportedly tried to inject his wife with syringes that he had with him. A chilling move that further escalated the attack. Arielle, fearing for her life, screamed out, "Help! He's trying to kill me!" Just as the situation seemed dire, a nearby hiker overheard Arielle's cry for help and rushed to the scene. The hiker managed to intervene just in time, preventing any further harm to Arielle.
Thank God that there's some bystander there that would actually do something.
I know. It was this timely intervention that likely saved Arielle's life. Gerhardt then attempted to flee the scene, but the authorities soon caught up with him. He was arrested that evening and charged with second-degree attempted murder. A restraining order has been put into place to protect Arielle and their 2 children. And Gerhardt's medical credentials have been revoked, and his trial is now pending. Arielle would later tell police that Gerhardt showed no remorse during the attack, describing his expression as cold and emotionless. Was this a moment of sudden rage, or was there something more calculated? The authorities soon began to piece together the details of the attack, and one thing became very clear. The push was not an accident.
And he had syringes.
The question that many have asked is why? Why would a respected doctor, a man with everything to lose and everything going for him, attempt to take the life of his wife in such a brutal, chilling manner? Well, when you look at someone like Gerhardt, it's crucial to understand the psychology behind such an act. Was it an isolated emotional breakdown, or was it a part of a longer, more complex pattern of behavior? We often see people in high-pressure careers, especially the medical field, sorry guys, may struggle with emotional regulation. But this act of violence was far beyond a moment of stress or frustration. I'm really in the camp that this was not impulsive. Investigators discovered that Gerhardt had been struggling with personal and professional pressures for some time. Although his career was thriving, his marriage to Arielle was very strained. There were reports of Gerhardt's increasing irritability and emotional distance in the weeks leading up to the hike. But was there more to the story? There's very often a deeper underlying issue in cases like this, whether it's unresolved trauma, desire for control, or even deep-seated anger. It's really important to examine the long-term psychological factors that may have contributed to the attack. In Gerhardt's case, we might speculate that there was something more going on beneath the surface, something that had been building quite a bit over time. Some experts might suggest that this behavior could point to deeper psychological issues, such as narcissistic personality disorder or other personality disorders. His apparent reaction to what seems like a minor disagreement could indicate that there's almost a sense of entitlement where he reacts violently when his wants or needs are not met, aka Arielle saying, "No, I'm not going to stand at the edge of the cliff so you can take a picture." So some things that, I by no means would ever, diagnose anyone with something without meeting them and having a conversation. But narcissists often feel narcissists often feel an intense need to dominate the environment and anyone in it. In the court documents, it says that Arielle refused to take a selfie near the cliff, which is her exerting her own autonomy in the situation. However, for someone with narcissistic traits, being denied control, especially to someone close to them, can feel like a deep personal injury. But the hallmark of NPD is a profound and fundamental lack of empathy. So even the act of, allegedly, pushing his wife, striking her with a rock, and trying to inject her with an unknown substance shows an extreme disregard for life. All red flags for pathological narcissism. And as an anesthesiologist, Gerhardt held a position of authority and prestige. Sometimes people with PD gravitate towards roles that really reinforce a sense of superiority or power. If he believed his needs or reputation mattered more than anyone else's, including his wife, that would align with the entitled thinking that narcissists often exhibit. And narcissistic rage is a real phenomenon. When someone with NPD feels slighted, embarrassed, rejected, even with something like disproportionately small, they react with fury. If Arielle's refusal to take the photo was perceived as disrespect or defiance, he felt his control slipping out of his fingers, and that could have triggered something explosive and violent. And people with NPD can be very charming in public, and in private be a very different persona, one that might be very deeply manipulative or abusive. Gerhardt had a respectable career, great public persona, but what happened on that hike suggests that he may have hidden a very different side of himself behind closed doors, which, again, common theme in relationships with a narcissist. And by no means is this a formal diagnosis. A formal diagnosis will require a full psychological evaluation, of course, and that's not something that's feasible on this podcast, but this is just a floating theory. My other floating theory is that maybe he was under the influence of something. I mean, he had syringes. Who's to say that he wasn't using whatever substance was in them? Yeah. After the incident, Gerhardt was arrested and charged with attempted murder. The case quickly became a media sensation, with many unable to reconcile the image of who they thought was the calm doctor that they had known with what was a violent criminal in front of them. And again, cases like this a lot of times do turn into media circuses. The defense will likely focus on his psychological state, arguing that he was not in control of his actions at that time. Prosecution, on the other hand, will aim to prove that this was a premeditated act of violence given the circumstances and the injuries that occurred. So, Gerhardt's team is arguing that he suffered from a mental breakdown and temporarily lost control of his emotions. They presented with psychological evaluations that suggest that Gerhardt was dealing with severe stress and anxiety. But prosecution is maintaining that the attack was planned. Investigators noted that Gerhardt had positioned himself in such a way on the trail that it appeared he had deliberately pushed Arielle at a point where she would fall a significant distance. This, they're arguing, showed premeditation.
And the fact he had, so again, syringes brought with him. Like, why would you bring them?
There's a lot going on in this case. So Arielle's recovery, both physical and emotional, is really incredible. The physical injuries have healed. However, the emotional ones are not probably ever going to resolve fully. In interviews, she's expressed both anger and sadness, unable to fully comprehend how the man she loved could try to kill her. She's been, again, provided with a restraining order, and their children, keeping in mind their identities and details, have not been fully disclosed for privacy reasons. But as of right now, the kids are under Arielle's protection as part of the legal proceedings and restraining order that, again, is in place against Gerhardt.
During the trial, I'd like to hear about their marital issues. Like, was there infidelity? Was there previous incidences of maybe domestic violence in the past? That'd be interesting for us to find out about.
I agree, Ris. But I did want to talk about something that I think is really applicable. Arielle went on to share a history of abuse. Gerhardt had sexually abused and assaulted her multiple times over the past several months. Wow. So she described his extreme jealousy. He accused her of infidelity in December 2024. This jealousy led him to attempt to control and monitor all of her personal devices. They were attending both individual and couples therapy to better address these issues. However, again, this was actually celebrating Arielle's birthday when they were in Oahu.
On the hike?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So domestic violence really is something that it really is all about control. It's not just anger. It's about wanting to assert power over someone, the victim. And in many cases, perpetrators may feel that they are losing control over their lives, and violence is really a way to regain that control. And Gerhardt's actions would have been or could have been driven by a sense of helplessness or desire to dominate his wife. So I also want to make sure that we use this as a platform to really talk about domestic violence. If there's anyone that you know or you are personally experiencing domestic violence, there are resources. We will include them in this podcast episode as well. If you ever feel unsafe, please reach out, get help. If you know someone that is not safe, please advocate on their behalf. I know Mom had mentioned at one point that if they were having issues, why would she trust him? And this was supposed to be like a reconciliation, a celebration of her life in the same place where he attempted to take her life. So, recognizing and holding space for that as well. And it's also complicated by the fact that her abuser was someone that she loved very deeply.
Yes. These situations can be so complicated and so many different emotions, at play. There's love, there's anger, there's a lot going on.
And, the argument has been made also that, them going away and this happening on her birthday could have been very calculated on his part too. So there's a lot of intricacies to this case. More and more will come out over time, I'm sure. but I just wanted to get everyone up to speed on what's going on in this sphere, and use this as a great way to talk about domestic violence and share some information.
Great job, Dee. This was a interesting case. Really highlights issues of domestic violence, and you don't always know the full story.
And that's also how it presents on the surface. They're on a trip, they're going on a hike, and then more things are revealed throughout the episode, which I think is kind of parallel to you don't really know what's going on unless you wait until the very end, and then Dee will reveal the spoilers.
That's very thoughtful episode writing.
Thank you.
We're thinking of Arielle. This must be an extraordinarily difficult time for her. And, she sounds like a really wonderful person, and she's working in mental health, and sounds like a big advocate for those who are struggling with mental illness. So I guess we'll see in the trial what unfolds, and you're in our thoughts. Yeah, that's really about it.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. The time is 2012. Wow, 2012, what a great year. On that note, thank you all. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you all for listening, and be safe out there. It's a spooky world.
Stay creepy, though.
Stay creepy.
Bye.
Stay creepy.
You are creepy.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye.